Hello, we're going to be looking at this question here. It says, the following flowchart is intended to represent an algorithm in which numbers that are input cannot be negative. The flowchart contains a logic error that will affect the algorithm's functionality. The algorithm is to be altered to restrict the values that are input to whole numbers between 0 and 1000. Part A asks us to identify the logic error in the algorithm. Part 2 asks us to outline how the error in the algorithm can be corrected. Part B asks us to state the name of the method that could be used to restrict the values that are input. Part C asks us to write an algorithm using pseudocode, including the following changes. Let's see if we can solve part 1. The algorithm starts off by setting the highest to 0, the lowest to 0, and counter to 0. But if we think about this, our values are always going to be above 0. So setting our lowest to 0 will always mean that we're going to give 0 as our output for the lowest value. So say our values were 5, 10, 3, and 2, then lowest is still going to be 0, because every time we go through, we're going to be comparing to 0, and then we won't be updating our lowest value, as it will stay at 0. Now let's move on to part 2. So the easiest way to do this is simply by setting the lowest to be the integer max value, which is, at least for Java, 2 to the power of 31 minus 1. But we can just say set lowest to integer max value. Now for part B. State the name of the method that could be used to restrict the values that are input. Now this is just going to be a validation check. Now let's see if we can solve C. I'm going to use my code editor here and write this in pseudocode. We have to correct the logic error, only allow input of integers between 0 and 1000, calculate the average of all numbers entered, and output the final average. Let's get to it. I'm going to set highest to -1, as any value will be greater than that. Lowest will be 1001. Counter be 0. And my total will be 0 as well. Okay, so we're going to loop while our counter is less than 1000, and then we're going to input our number. Now, at this point, we want to do our validation check. So if the number less than 0, or the number is greater than 1000, and now we're going to check if the number is a whole number, as part of the criteria was that it only accepts integer values. So I'm going to do number mod 1 is not equal to 0. Say we had the value 10.5. 10.5 modulo 1 will give 0.5, and 0.5 is not equal to 0. So, but if we had the regular integer 10, mod 1 will give 0. So this will be false. And then we want to output valid input. Else we want to check if our number is bigger than the highest. Then we want to update our highest. Highest equals number. Then if number is less than lowest, Then we want to set lowest equals number. We have to remember we have to increase our total. Total equals total plus number. Counter equals counter plus 1. And our average will be total divided by counter. And then we can give our outputs here. So very end, output highest, output lowest, and output average. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, then please subscribe. It means a lot to us, and hope to see you again soon.